Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Are there any additions to the agenda, Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull the minutes from the 12/13/22 meeting, so I have time to go through those. And please add approval of the 12/12/22 TNT meeting minutes. So we'll just be approving the TNT meeting minutes on the consent agenda. Item number 3, consent agenda, change the date on the 12/23/22 auditor's warrants to 12/27/22 auditor warrants. And then one other item at the bottom of the agenda under other business, like to add recognition of retiring Commissioner Lesnath.
With that, entertain approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second, Bam.
Oh, we'll just put her down here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of 12/12 in the TNT, and then approve the commissioner warrants of 12/27/22, the auditor warrants, and the hospital warrants for 8/57, 261/81.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Nick?
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, first up for me today, be a follow-up to that bid opening we had for those box culverts 2 weeks ago. Doing some research, sounds like that's just where those things are gonna be priced at from now on, which is very disappointing, you know, and you see double the prices means you get half as much done, but, so we've been doing a bunch of homework on other options. I've sent some messages out that have made it all the way to the bridge engineer for the state, I guess, so. They're pursuing other options going forward in the future, like there's another supplier in South Dakota that, we're trying to lobby to get them allowed in the state. I think their product would be just fine. Also, South Dakota does a lot of cast in place box culverts. You know, they take longer because of the cure time on the concrete, but we're, looks like we could save some money doing that too, possibly. You know, the road's closed longer, but there might be options on some of the lower volume roads to where, that might work well, so. So I think in the future, we'll probably look at maybe trying something different, at least see how those prices come in. You know, that'd be a pretty big setback on this group, because we kind of have to have everything, I think, re-engineered and whatnot, and I don't know, that'd be a major delay. You know, we're probably talking push it back a year or something like that, so. We had some conversations with the state. We're gonna complete that last week, but then with the blizzard, everything was kind of shut down, so I don't have a final answer from them, but it appears to us, you know, we have the money to do these now, to move forward with these. But I'd like to hear that for sure from them, because when we send in our estimates, that's what they approve to come out of our allotment. But, you know, to me, it looks like there's plenty there to award these, even though it came in above what was approved. But I need to for sure get that blessing from them, you know, that signed updated funding letter. So I think we would like to award these, award the low bid to RNG, contingent on the state's final approval, which I'll have in the next few days here. But, you know, I would have had that before this meeting, but, you know, with the blizzard, everything is kind of shut down, so.
Are we in a position to make that action now? Or do we have to go through the bids and recheck it? Because
No, the price,
already checked them, so you're ready to take action.
yeah, the price is checked out. I think, I guess my opinion would be to award contingent on the state's updated approval.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we do award the bid to RNG contingent on the state's final approval.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
all right. Next item for me, we have what's called, maybe Kathy needs to help me if I butcher this a little bit, but we have snow hours. It's for employees that work when the courthouse is closed. You know, mainly comes into effect for like our snowplow drivers. But it's per calendar year, so it's supposed to be used, you know, like the year they're accrued. But with this year, you know, they accrued them over the last few days, and we're cleaning up from the last event, and looks like we got more weather coming on Thursday. So I don't really see any time for our guys to use them this year. So if it's all right with the board, I think we'd like permission to roll them over into next year, just because of the tight time frame. You know, we can keep it in the future to be used in the normal calendar year, but you know, this is kind of a weird circumstance. There's just no time for them to use those hours up.
Mr. Chair, question for Kathy with HR. Do you see any pitfalls in doing that at all, Kathy?
I don't think so. It's a pretty unique circumstance. The minimum per the union contract is they need to use it up by the end of the year. So you guys could do above and beyond that
Right.
with a board motion to extend that an additional year if you want to let them use it by the end of 23.
But to memorialize it, we should take action, make a specific motion, which I will make that motion that we do extend that policy for 12 months. And again, giving department heads and also HR the latitude to administer it fairly.
This really only applies to your department, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep. It would be the highway, anyone that falls under the AFSCME highway union contract.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, thank you. That'll make a lot of people happy. So,
Well, it's only fair. It really
yeah,
is.
I totally understand. It's just kind of weird how the timing worked out on it, but
We
yeah,
expect a
they'll be
lot
happy.
of our employees, and they step up and give us a lot, so we
Yeah.
can certainly be fair with
Yeah,
them. This
they-
is just an easy way to be fair.
right. Yep, they'll appreciate that. So, thank you. Next up for me, we were putting together a cutting edge order. I believe cutting edges were moved to the auditor's warrant list. When I have time, I still like to bring it to the board though, because it's a lot of money that gets spent. But it got put in place when we were going through the thing so fast, we couldn't really afford to wait. So we had requests for bids out on a bunch, or quotes rather. But then, you know, with the blizzard the last few days, things got, you know, nobody got back to us in time. You know, I suppose nobody worked. So, so just so you know, there'll be a cutting edge purchase coming, but you know, that stuff's all budgeted for anyway, but it's still a pretty big bill when you see it come through. So yeah, just heads up on that, I guess.
I'll make that a motion.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Then next, just a quick little update. We've been out to some extent every day since last Wednesday plowing, so it's been rather busy for the guys, but whatever. I think the last 2 winters have been pretty decent, or treated us well, so it's about time we get hooked with one here. So
Equipment's done pretty well for you.
yeah, we had a lot of trucks freezing up on, I think it was Friday, if I remember right. You know, one.
Gelling up fuel.
No, well, not that I heard of anyway, but one, the brakes froze up. You know, another one, a wing froze. I can't remember if it was down or up or somewhere in the middle, but a wing froze somewhere and we couldn't really move it anymore. And you know, when
Normal
it's that
stuff.
cold out, that happens.
Just
So,
normal stuff.
yeah. So yeah, normal stuff. Otherwise, things are holding up pretty good. So, we got 2 blowers out right now. So, unfortunate seeing that this time of year, like, might mean there's a long winter ahead, but, whatever, we got two of them going as well, so. Other than that, that's it for me for now. I have, we have the bid opening at 10 for our fuel, so, I have one bid already, and I know there's at least one more coming, so I'll probably stick around here till then, so. Other than that, any other questions for me? Otherwise, I think that's it.
Yes, hearing none. Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item, set the non-union employees COLA.
Everything on that, other than, non-union COLA for employees would be recommended to be at 2.5%.
That's what I
For
thought.
2023. That's in conjunction with the contracts we had in place for the last 3 years with the unions as well. 3% first year, 2.5%, and 2.5% for 22 and 23. And that was the figures that the department heads were instructed to use for their budgets, and they did.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Set the county board elected officials' salaries.
Chairman, you have in your packet a copy of the board salary increase. Salary for 2022 for the board was $22,734. Budgeted amount that was placed in the budget for the commissioners was 2%. Up to the board, I would recommend 2 to 2.5% for the commissioners going into 2023. 2% salary would be $23,189. At 2.5% be $23,302. Is where you'd be on that. And I also have a 3% listed on there too, if the board wishes to do something different than that too.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to set it at 2.5, the same as everyone else.
I'll support it. I'll support that.
Discussion.
Any further discussion?
I, as you know, feel strongly that we're compensated quite well. Also with the increased contribution, pardon me, to our health insurance, I would be very comfortable staying at 0%.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion of 2.5%?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. At 2.5. Okay, adopt the 2023 taxable levy resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend let's hold off on this till Amanda gets down here around 9:30. I'd like to have her here so we can
Okay.
do some discussion on possible changes on investment income. We may be able to add some dollars to that. So before we act on that, maybe we can do personnel items. That'd be okay?
Other electeds too.
Hmm?
We have to do other electeds.
They were done last time.
We did recorder and,
We don't have an elected recorder and an auditor anymore.
oh, that's right.
So county attorney and sheriff were done
What was
last
it?
meeting.
That was it.
That's it.
Okay. Yep.
They'll get 2.5%.
Yeah, like everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Kathy.
So I did pass out some handouts this morning that I'm gonna go over, and I'm just gonna kind of go through this top worksheet that says personnel for 12/27/22 commissioners meeting. So just to start off with a few announcements, Austin Underdahl was hired as a full-time highway maintenance worker, and he started on December 19th. So we do have all of our full-time highway maintenance worker positions filled. We're still recruiting for a mechanic. Then we have JD Wallenberg will be starting as a full-time paramedic on January 5th, 2023. He worked for the ambulance service many years ago, and he'll be coming back, so they are excited to have him starting, and we're able to find a local paramedic to join the service. And then Grant Boudin, who is currently a volunteer EMT, will be starting as a part-time EMT, and I don't have his exact start date yet, but he's met the pre-employment requirements. Okay, next item I have is Nicola Backer, our Deputy Auditor 3, is on a leave of absence right now, and the Auditor Treasurer's Office we are not sure how soon she's going to be coming back, and they may be seeking temporary help to cover that if we can find someone on a quick basis, I guess, if it doesn't take too long to find someone. So we are going to reach out to some people that have applied for other positions with the county in the past and see if they're interested in a temp position. Since it's a temp, we shouldn't have to go through the extensive full-blown hiring process for like a regular full-time or a regular part-time employee. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that. Steve, do you think we need a motion or just consensus that
A consensus will be fine on this.
if
Yes,
you guys
temporary.
think that's okay? Okay, next I have a revised family medical leave policy. And I did run this through the personnel committee earlier in the year, and wanted to get this approved before the end of the calendar year so we can implement it as of 1/1/23. So Pipestone County falls under FMLA. It's a federal leave act that we have to comply with. So this really is just the policy that accompanies the law that we have to follow already, and how we're gonna administer leave of absence that qualify under family medical leave. The biggest proposed change to this is we are proposing to eliminate the restrictions on use of sick leave for maternity or paternity leave. So as of right now, everyone can take up to 12 weeks off for paternity or maternity leave, but unless you have a medical reason to be off, so like a birth mother would get more than that if the doctor certified her off. But like an adoptive parent or a father would be limited to 80 hours of sick leave, and then they'd have to use vacation followed by unpaid leave of absence. So this is proposing, this isn't a new leave benefit. They are not getting paid parental leave. They are just getting the restrictions lifted on usage of their sick leave and their vacation leave. So if they've amassed 12 weeks of sick leave, they can use it for that reason. And I just think there's a lot of employers that have fully paid paternity leaves and maternity leaves, and this is just kind of bringing us to more modern times where people are able to use those benefits for family medical leave for birth of a child. So, any questions on the FMLA proposed policy?
I guess not.
No questions. Mr. Chair, I'll move for approval.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Then I have two resolutions for your consideration. So the first one, the 594522, is basically para needs a resolution on file if we are going to allow a part-time deputy to stay in the police and fire para plan. So Quentin Johnson is now working in the highway department, and he fills in occasionally for the sheriff's office. So this would apply only to his hours where he's working as a deputy. His full-time highway hours will fall under the general plan, just like any other highway worker. So this is really only paperwork to make sure that he keeps his credit and membership in the police and fire plan for his part-time deputy hours. I would be seeking board approval of that.
Mr. Chairman, is he keeping up with any requirements for the police?
He has to maintain his post license.
Okay, that's-
Yeah, so he has to continue with his continuing education and everything like that. And they do a lot of their own training up there as well, like firearms qualification and use of force training within the department, so.
Looks like a bonus to me have somebody that they can call.
Also, so what is specific then about Mr. Johnson? Because if we had another part-time deputy, wouldn't that, separate from Mr. Johnson, so any part-time deputy, wouldn't their hours already be part of para?
We have actually done individual resolutions on every part-time
Each
deputy.
individual one, so that way
Yeah.
you've got it memorialized instead of just okay, now I
Right.
understand.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So, because Cole Nordmeyer is another example. He is our deputy EMS director, and he fills in
Right.
with the sheriff's office, and we also have a resolution for him too.
Okay, so
And that is a requirement of PERA to act on each one of those
a specific
individually.
one memorialized. Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
I would second that.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And then my next resolution for board consideration is the cafeteria plan resolution. And this is formalizing all of the county contributions that were approved back in September for the 2023 plan year. So all of the red areas are the language that was updated. It's mostly just the dates and the dollar amounts based on what the board approved for the cafeteria contribution for our insurance benefits.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution 594622.
And I will second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and then last but not least, I have a thank you to Commissioner Les Nath for your 8 years of service. So thank you for your service to the county as the county commissioner. I've really enjoyed working with you these past 8 years. I ordered a very nice plaque and it's stuck in Marshall right now. I wasn't
Just
able
like
to get up
everything else.
there last week with the blizzard, so this is your temporary plaque. Until I can get you your better plaque.
Thank you,
So
Kathy.
thank you. And I don't know if Les wants to say a few words or not, but
Well, it's been a fun 8 years. The time went by quick. Learned a lot in the 8 years, how the county really functions. It's been a real joy to work with the rest of my fellow commissioners. So I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take the time to do the math to figure out how many miles that you've driven in the last 8 years going to meetings?
Not the total miles, but it was 3 vehicles.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now we'll go back to taxable levy resolution.
Good.
Amanda?
Amanda, could you come up, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Chairman, what you have in your packets right now is the budget and levy resolution showing us a taxable payables levy of $8,600,433 in 2023, up 8.15% from 2022 at $7,952,656. I had to do I was able to, with some changes primarily due to the decrease in the welfare amount that was brought down about $14,000. That helped reduce that from the 8.42 we went into the preliminary to the final. Had a conversation with Commissioner Johnson, and he was wondering, and I was too, and so I got Amanda down here. The interest income that I'm showing in our 003 non-departmental account right now is at, I believe, $85,000. And talking to Amanda, investment earnings, that's 0035710. In 21, we budgeted 150,000 and collected 67,000. Interest rates went down. We budgeted 60,000 in 22, and we actually took in, well, be a little bit higher than that, but as of September, we were at 41,000 in income. So I took a very conservative approach to 2023, and since then, we've seen inflation kind of settle back a little bit, and we've also seen investment income start to rise a little bit. So that's why I wanted to bring Amanda in to see if there's she has any thoughts about possibly raising that. If we were to increase our income by just $86,000, we could drop our levy by 1% and drop us down. If she believes we can do greater than that, we can use that to bring the levy down by increasing the interest income we're taking in. So, get your crystal ball out here,
I
Amanda.
know. Yes, what's gonna happen with the
What are you
rates?
thinking?
I definitely think that, that we can definitely bump that number up. Like you said, you were being conservative, you just are unsure. The one thing I would point out is that in the past, we have had a little bit more cash with the ARPA funds, but that is starting to get spent.
Yep.
So, we maybe might not have the balances that we had in the past, but rates are better. So that would be the only concern I would have, is some of those funds getting spent. We also have gotten some extra funds with, the settlement, the litigation settlement, but I don't know how fast
Opioid.
those are gonna get spent, with the.
Or for the opioid settlement?
Yep. So again, it depends how fast those projects are gonna be used. But that is some extra funds too that, if they aren't used right away, that can earn some interest. So, another 86,000, like I said, I do think we can increase it, to basically double it. I'm not 100% if I'd be comfortable going that high, but yeah, we're at, right now, like you said, with 11 months, we have 100,000 of interest, and that was with a partial year, the lower rates, and then slowly increasing. So, definitely, I would say that we can bump that up, and, the budget is we know it's not exact, but,
Everything.
we should have a good number that we think is reasonable, so.
Mr. Chairman, how liquid are our reserves? Are they locked up for a long time, or are they short-term, or?
Well, we kind of have a variety,
Variety.
a lot of them are.
Different places, I'm
Yep,
sure.
yep, and, some of them are, and again, you can, like, some of them are in CDs where, it's locked up, but
fixed rate, yeah.
we just have to pay the penalty if we need it, so, to get to them. So it's not like
Yeah.
we can't get to them.
Are any of them variable rate that you know of?
So the variable rate, we do have some money in like money market
Checking,
and
or
the
whatever it
checking.
is.
Those are the variable rates. The funds that we have in the Magic Fund are just the monthly variable rate. Those are not locked up in anything. So, but there are options to do some term CDs for there too. So that would be the option that, you know, the one thing that I had kind of thought was if we, just because of not knowing what interest will do, possibly we would want to look at purchasing a CD to just make sure we have that interest rate.
So you haven't used any of those short-term term rates through Magic?
Since I have been here, or no, we don't have any. This hospital, we have used some for the hospital funds that are in the Magic.
Don't you think we should consider that, considering how much higher they are than other rates?
We certainly can, yeah. Yep.
I mean, cause if we do, I mean, those are, you know, in a lot of cases, 4 or 5 times what we're getting now on ones that are renewing.
Yep.
You know, at 1 or less. You know, if you can get 5 or close, why wouldn't you?
Yep. Yeah, we can. Those funds were ones that were usually in a money market just so that they were liquid to go back to the cash or the checking account if we needed it.
Right.
But I mean, I think that our checking account, we've held it pretty high lately just because of some of the projects going on. So I think the biggest thing is just if we know of any specific cash outflows that are large coming up, that we just need to be aware of that so we can watch our actual checking account balance.
Sure.
So what would the ramifications be that if, 10 months from now, that we didn't get the interest income that we thought we were going to have? It's not like we're not going to be able to pay our bills. We've got reserves.
Exactly.
Also, looking back historically at our budgets over the years, do we normally fall in pretty close, or sometimes we're over budget, sometimes we're under budget? What's the history been on that?
Sorry, what was that?
For our actual cost, our at the end of the
bottom
year,
line?
the bottom line at the end of the year. How does that
I
compare
guess
to
I haven't
budget?
looked back to see,
Yeah.
but I mean, we do have a decent amount of reserves, you know, that we should consider.
I feel pretty comfortable with this. If anything we can do to lessen the tax impact for our citizens, if we can lower that levy, and knowing that we've done this with forethought, it's not just a whim. And if the projections go a little sideways on us, it's not going to be devastating at all for us. So I think it sounds like a very good idea.
Mr. Chairman, too, if I may, the other things you have that play into this too are some departments will not utilize all of their budgeted expenses either. Some will go over, some will not.
Right.
I mean, if you remember when we had the 21 audit, we put in, what do we add to our reserves, 1.5 million? Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
Pretty close to
Of
that.
unspent money from that
Yes.
year. Yeah, exactly.
You know, so we do have reserves, but yeah.
And we weathered quite a tough time with inflation and everything else here, and hopefully that's going to be better this next year.
Yeah, I'm hoping on
Prices
that.
are going to stabilize for us. So
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to entertain the idea of maybe using our wind tax revenue for direct levy reduction now too. We've been paying back the demolition central school a lot of years, and now that property is bringing money back, being sold. And now as it's doing is padding reserves, I think right now would be the time to start shifting that money back towards direct levy reduction.
my
And
only
we are learning about that, however, is we are in a time where they're shutting down our towers and reducing our wind revenue. That 22 cents a kilowatt hour is very fluid right now. The companies decide to shut down our wind farms and then go burn gas.
Yep.
And so we may not get the whole 830. I hope we do.
Well, this might be our last Hail Mary
It might be,
getting
yeah.
levy reduction out of it then.
That's true.
So we've been paying back reserves for years on that, and now those properties are bringing money back. Instead of keeping, 8.15, we can shave some off of that by moving that money back towards the levy.
I agree with that train of thought. My concern has always been, though, getting too dependent upon it. That if or when we lose that revenue, then are we going to have a big sticker shock when all of a sudden our levy's going to have to take a huge bump? And which I know we've all discussed this before. I do like keeping the levy low, but it has to be sustainable as well too, without that wind production. And we've used that wind money, or could use that wind money for some other things as well too. So some things that could be deferred if we didn't have it. So
Well, maybe not all of it, maybe another portion of it, to at least help with this levy.
yeah,
But we already have it all.
that's what I can say.
included.
We did.
And frankly, we've never even gotten that much at any given year for the county, so. that's already a pretty ambitious number.
Yeah, because when Steve put the numbers together for the levy, he already did factor in some wind money. Yeah,
Yeah, that's shown as income to the county already.
yeah.
Is our 2022 actual, I mean, that's not gonna change before year end, is it? The 2022 wind energy tax revenue? No. That was only 575.
Yeah.
And we're in at 830 for 23.
Well, our hands were also tied. We were kind of expected to do the demolition of that project, whether it was through the levy or through the reserves or whatnot. That's part of the blight situation. So our hands were tied with that. We've been faithfully paying back that money in reserves
Yep.
for a long time. And where Pipestone County does not have loans or anything else out there, we're sitting very good as opposed to a lot of our neighbors right now. So I would really like to consider looking at that for a little bit of levy reduction. Not entirely, but while we can, because if it sounds like it's a depleting source, I mean, we obviously can't rely on it moving forward, but maybe 1 year.
Mr. Chairman, if I may say one more thing here about the budget too, is that I did reduce our 003, I call it just emergency funding, if you will, I used $97,000 of that to pay for the insurance increase we brought forth and the board approved. So I put a copy of that in your packet as well, what I changed to the budget. So when we upped the amount we provided to single coverage and also family coverage, when I went through the whole budget and added it all up, most of them went up, a couple of them went down. But total change to the budget was $96,565. So I moved money from the 003 account where I have $100,000 in that and moved that to that. So I brought that down to 30,000 to pay for that amount that we did there too.
3,000.
To 3,000. The 100,000 is now 3,000. So that was.
And that was wind production tax money that you used to do that with?
No, that wasn't wind production tax money.
Okay.
No, and
That's miscellaneous
it was
services and
miscellaneous,
charges.
miscellaneous income. So I did do that, so that depleted, that changed $97,000 to pay for that. So if we were not had that in there, we'd have to take that from someplace else like wind revenue or add it to the levy. And I don't like the way wind power, our production taxes are coming in. I mean, other counties got hit before we did. Murray County specifically got hit hard last year, where we did quite well this year. But I just don't understand how they're building all these wind farms and then
Not using them.
and not use them and shut them down. And
Yep.
I guess it's all higher economics than I understand of what they want to do. But
Well, and again, the companies that are purchasing the power from the wind turbines, they obviously are selecting the most economical cost of energy for them, and that's not necessarily the original contract, some of the newer contracts. So I think that has a lot to do with what machines they shut down, which ones they actually buy off of, so.
yeah. According to this, just quick math, we've lost 255,000 wind production tax in 2022.
And we were very fortunate that we actually had more turbines in the county come online with the Stone Ray project a number of years ago. Otherwise, the effect of this would have been much greater on us, the lost revenue. So, but I do understand what you're saying, Chris, and I agree that we want to not just have this nesting build up when we can use it to help.
Well, we did our goal and the properties gain taxes now. It's not tax forfeit, it's gonna start generating taxes, so.
Yep.
I think mission accomplished, let's move forward. All of our neighbors are using that for levy reduction for the most part.
Right.
Some built fiber throughout their entire county with it, so. And reserves, I don't think is the right decision at this point anymore, but I'll end my stance on that.
And you mentioned the fiber optic or the connectivity. Is we know we got more work for us to do going forward, so perhaps this is a fund that we can use. I would really feel that would be an appropriate use for it, because that's the type of thing that wouldn't be your normal annual type budget. This is an over and above special thing, and that's why we've got this kitty to work off of, so.
I wouldn't say it's a kitty, though. You're using it for levy reduction right now.
Yes, we are, but not all of it.
Yes,
Right.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're using all of it and then some. I mean, by having it in as revenue, you're using it.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're actually using, I mean, in our current 2023 budget, we're using more than we're probably gonna get.
okay, I didn't realize that. I thought that we were only using a part of it.
Oh,
Okay,
No, it's all in there. No,
and that's been the case the last few years. I mean, it looks like back in 21, we took out some based on our actual, but in 2022, we actually budgeted more than we took in. So 21 was the last year that we had a big, payback, so to say, based on actual versus budgeted.
Well, what are your wishes?
I guess I think we should increase the, interest, by the 86,000 or whatever, cause
The 1%.
right. Cause based on what we've taken in this year and the fact that we're renewing at higher rates on everything, I think we'll easily achieve that. I mean, we're at over 100 at 11 months. All the renewals have been at, probably 3 or 4 times what we were getting. We certainly should be able to get double what we currently have budgeted, which is less than we're getting this year.
I'll second that.
A motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Just, and this is just to use that, change that line item, or is this the approval of the levy?
Yeah, it's just to change that line item.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
so that changes our levy to what?
7.15, right?
give or take 100th.
Yeah.
We take a break, I'll go rework it. Then we can act on that.
I think that's a great use of the interest money.
Yeah.
People are getting hurt by it on the other side, so we lower their tax burden a little bit. I've caught a lot of heat for the letters that get sent out, but it takes money to run. It's just
And we can't control a lot of our expenses.
well, that is true. And we can't control the weather or the highway department, how much they spend, and, bridges cost more than, culverts cost more than twice as what they used to be.
We've put almost 6 months into this levy too, and I think we've looked at every angle we can too, really, so at this point.
Okay, you wanna take a break and you wanna rework that then, Steve? Okay, we'll recess for a few minutes here, till Steve gets his reworked.
Dallas, you remember down in
Turn back on.
Sioux County, Iowa,
Yeah.
south of Sioux Center, that intersection down there,
don't know when
what's it been referred to
anyone's
all these
gonna-
years?
$1 million corner?
Yep, cause that goes back to,
Oh, Bill
Seventies,
still says
sixties,
January 3rd,
60s.
they're gonna start
I went
working.
to college
Oh, they
there
are,
in 70,
okay.
and it was done already then.
Yep.
Or I think
Gonna
they were
start
working on
working
it then,
after
actually.
our organization.
And that
It
was
was the other
just,
way to
Well,
Orange City.
that was just a
The
plain
week
old
of the
regular
3rd,
T
somewhere.
intersection.
I was gonna say, hopefully not during.
Not, no, they
And-
won't
and-
be able
and
to do
now-
it during, of course.
Now I guess we'll have to go out and name our
$1 million
culverts,
culverts.
our $1 million culverts.
People will be saying,
Maybe,
what's that
maybe
guy
we could
doing
sell
behind
naming
that?
rights to culverts.
Hammers are
$1 million
boom,
doesn't go
boom,
as far as it
boom.
used to.
Kids have a good Christmas?
No, I knew that you would recognize that as well.
$1 million corner.
It's usually good for kids.
It's still called that today, as far as I know.
The road goes north of that, curves away from the railroad.
Yeah, where that sand pit is at.
I had a nephew die on that.
Not like on yesterday's Hagar.
On a Saturday night, he was
cartoon in
going
the
from Orange City
paper.
to Rock Valley on a motorcycle.
Some kid, you know,
See what happened.
Hagar and his buddy of his are walking by, and some kid saying, "I didn't get everything I demanded for Christmas."
I had to
And
drive down
Hagar's
with my brother
buddy
to the
says,
Orange City
"Oh,
Hospital.
it sounds like he got what he deserved."
Yep.
It
Exactly.
was just 19.
My kids are good with that. So
Motorcycle trip.
we had a good idea of what they wanted and everything.
What kind of bike did he have?
I don't remember. It was nothing really big fancy.
Kawasaki or something like that back then.
Truck tape.
That old gravel pit there on the east side,
Here.
isn't that quite a place now?
Well,
That's no gravel pit
a
anymore.
resort.
Yep.
So I was wondering about that. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we've done that in previous years.
Oh, yeah, that's just formality.
Yep.
All right, so change.
So I was waiting to put that in my.
Because, yeah,
spreadsheet.
everyone was asked to go, so.
No.
I think it's been like 4 or 5 years since we did that last one. So I thought that was that night for some reason. That's when that Max got it over there. I ended up trying to run.
Well, that's good, Les.
Oh, yeah,
Congratulations.
I'm just looking forward.
Yep.
Doing some things that I can,
yeah. I
Not
think
have to look at the calendar.
They're gonna-
When you decide to do something, you know, well, now, how can I work
blame
around
this
this?
year, trying to figure out how to handle their.
I can just
So they,
wanna do something,
Our-
go
our
do it, I
local
don't have to look at
legislators.
my calendar. Oh,
not
shit.
just being outnumbered, you mean? Or,
I hate the afternoon meetings,
Or the
I
kind
enjoy
of
the morning
Right.
meetings.
rooster just you know.
Right, and it's not gonna be like that.
Our caucus. Well,
In fact, I noticed on this one we got coming up on the 17th,
Right.
our special meeting
you
here,
start listening, guys.
that's at 1 o'clock. Why is it 1 o'clock?
That might get changed to 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna
And that's
call them,
because of
you know,
people
before
coming
they
to see us,
start,
that's
and
when
say,
they can make it.
"Hey, I don't know how to tell you
That's
this, but
development.
all those deals that you had for giving tax money back to people, that's not gonna happen." Yet you lost your chance to do that last year.
Unfortunately.
I mean, so now you're in a position
I
where
haven't
they're gonna
touched
spend the
it.
money.
I got
My guess is
the
they're gonna spend it all. and then-
pistons in, got the head on, got the rocker arms on.
So,
That's if history proves itself.
Oil
Correct.
pump.
knowing
I
that,
haven't been out there. I haven't
you need to
been
make
shot
sure you
for
get
a
your
month and a
piece
half.
of the pie. Start by getting that highway.
Thought about that the other day when I started.
And, you know, beyond that, obviously, you know, broadband.
I wasn't figuring on it for
EMS
snow removal
grants,
this year anyway. I've got some dirt work.
road,
I wanna get
wetland
done.
replacement credit, I
Biggest
mean,
thing
you
is
know,
I
all
really
that
don't
stuff
wanna build
that,
that
you
shed
know,
over
should have
there.
been funded all along.
Yeah, Scott has got, he's
Sure
just
that all
swamped.
that
He's
stuff
got so
gets
much going on.
included.
He doesn't need me underfoot over there right now. And
But
after
I
weather
know,
turned, I can't work outside
Greta,
anymore
that's the
on the
lobbyist for
chassis. And we're gonna
MRC.
bring the chassis in once I get the motor
She
done. And then
met with,
this last 2 weeks.
Portland
I
recently at a fundraiser,
said I
and, the speaker said
came out
that
of my
she
basement
was
yesterday.
very
finally.
open to
Well, actually, the
doing a
day
number
before,
of
when the
cash
kids
highway
got there for
projects.
Christmas. I ventured up.
And I'm like, well, perfect.
Now I'm 10
Then-
days in. I should not be
Bill,
contagious
you need
anymore.
to cozy up to her
Yeah, there's a lot of that
and
around.
have Joe do the same, and,
Much.
So you segregated from your wife?
projects on that list.
Yep. I
Well,
had,
that-
Because,
yeah,
I mean,
temporary divorce
I'm
is
sure they're
working.
gonna do a big bonding bill too, but
I had
Why bond
the
and pay
TV and the
interest
remote.
when you can
so
pay
what more did I
cash?
need? You know,
Exactly.
had my own bed,
and,
had my own
and
bathroom.
you can bypass.
She'd
MnDOT's
throw a piece of raw meat down the
process
steps
of
once in a while.
selection.
Yeah, I had all the water I could drink out of the
I mean, in
toilet, so
my
what more does a guy
opinion,
need, you know?
And just designate the project that you want completed.
My,
So you just tell them, hey, this is what we want done, go
Save
do
the
it.
money.
Oh,
I got
it's-
hives from that, my whole bag.
I don't even know what that number is, but I'll bet it's a lot.
Zeros are just
I have
closer.
seen them.
Exactly. Right.
It's
I
surprising
don't know if
what
Nick
the
can even
moving-
estimate what that is.
And,
but-
you know, trying to put,
It's all
I had
easier
aloe
to see than taking it out there, all that.
trying to put lotion on your own back. You gotta be
In fact, that reminds
contortionist.
me, I gotta ask Nick. Nyla said she saw online
My wife,
that, like somebody had filled a pothole with asphalt.
She goes this
And
way,
put like
then
a-
she goes this way, and then she
patch
goes this
over
way.
it. And she said it
Not
was
pretty,
something.
but
I think I got most of
Enough
it
that
pretty well
somebody could
covered.
carry it,
I
put it over
I
that
put a glop on both hands and just.
Pothole. And somehow they moved it out or whatever. And I'm just curious, like, what is it? And do you know anything about it? Does it work?
Yep. Oh, man.
I don't know what it was made out of, cause I
When,
didn't see it.
when Barb was carrying
Seen them
the-
use that, and they have to go and like,
and she
and they
had
put it on hot, and then they
bladder or
have to go and
kidney
like drive
infection.
over it or whatever.
And they
but
put her on
it
an
gets-
What is
antibiotic.
it made of?
Sulfur-based antibiotic, I can't remember which one it was
I don't know.
anymore.
Well, that's what I would assume, but,
Because it gets it in a bag, you know, and it's, I don't know.
but I mean, but it sounded like it was something where you could actually lift it and
Yeah, so she
carry
just
it
had, and she
whatever,
had
set it in place.
Yeah.
She was high, so I just.
I don't know what it is, or what it's made of. I'd have to ask our
You
maintenance
just wanna
guy.
scratch.
But I'm guessing those two guys should probably.
Those be the guys to ask.
Yeah.
7.06,
7 point.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Better.
86,000 off. 7.06 is 86,000 off of the revenue levy.
That's great.
0.06?
706. I'm printing it out right now for you.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet.
I know you've been working very,
And
very,
good
very
suggestion.
hard on that.
We,
Yeah.
we all worked hard on this for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
you do all the stuff behind the scenes on it.
Did you add the commissioners 2.5 to that?
Huh?
Did you add the commissioners 2.5 to that?
No, that'll be absorbed.
That's what, 3?
That's
That's,
a minor.
that's like a $500 option or an item.
But yeah, just.
If
so you
fuel
know,
prices,
I mean,
rounding
fuel
error.
prices go
that
down to
wind
like
energy
$2.50 a
thing, though,
gallon,
is
we're
being
rounding
used for levy reduction. Currently, it has been every year. The last year that we technically didn't use it all was
Right.
21. This year, we used it all. We didn't even get what we had in the budget.
Because the income had
And
come
frankly, we
down.
have a bigger number in the budget,
Yep.
because I don't think we're
It's
gonna
not
get
trending
anywhere
that
near
way.
that. But whatever, I mean,
Yeah, see, I was still thinking back before when we didn't use all, we still had kept some back out.
right.
Right.
But yeah,
Didn't they repower up there though last year? Or?
they did, but like you say, they're choosing which
Ones they run.
source to use, so they're just not using our source.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they had a better deal on the, when they repowered.
Oh, I don't know if they did or not.
I think they did, but
Well, that's cool. That's a happier number.
Yes, it is. Yep. Especially with all the inflation all the way around, so you can get down to that. That's with inflation everywhere, all across the board, to get down to this is pretty impressive.
can I write final on this one, or did we not approve it yet?
I think pretty close.
Dollars.
I did.
Yep.
Finally, you get to a percent.
And again, where we know some of our neighboring counties just go into debt to keep their levy down, and that's
That's not sustainable.
you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's just sooner or later you're gonna have to.
Robbing your future generations at that one.
Yeah,
So.
you're there. No.
Just think, you put 2 bad years in, they're making a payment plus. Or, well, maybe next year we'll have to pull some of our reserves to help our constituents out.
One of these years might have to. So. Been very good at avoiding that, so we haven't done that since I've been on the board. So come close.
I can remember back in
There was some kind of thing where you could actually carry it and.
housing bust, 08,
Oh yeah.
08, we were getting $1.2 million, and we dropped to, what was it, 2 million, or 275,000 for, something like that. We lost $1 million right
And that
there.
county program aid,
Yep.
that one, there, we just took it in the shorts on that one.
And those commissioners at that time were cutting programs totally.
Yeah. But that's those are the tough decisions right there. Those are.
But they weren't popular on a lot of their decisions, but they didn't have any choice.
No. They wouldn't be popular putting a 20% levy on somebody either. So, darned if you do, darned if you don't. So.
And it was probably easy to be a commissioner back then when you were getting $1.2 million in aid. Just think.
Yeah.
But with every,
Picture up there. Dallas stand up on the wall yet. When you start shaking some trees or what? I took that picture a year ago.
How long have you been up there?
Since, well, that picture.
6 years?
Yeah. 6 years.
I thought you got elected the same time I did, but that was re-elected.
no. He had 4 before.
Yeah, see if you can figure out what they are.
Well, you all fueled up and ready to go?
We don't have.
Let me redo the other resolution too before we come back, okay?
It's not up there. The nail's still there. What's missing?
Yeah, for some reason, there's something with the frames. They couldn't get
Oh, couldn't get the same frame. That's what it was. Yep. Yep. That's
The
right.
picture.
That's right. Yep.
You know, I'm concerned about the Cali van.
Oh, you're gonna get that baby back.
That's gonna be another million plus.
I guess I would treat it more like.
Nobody's gonna want to buy that.
And then we're gonna have to go through the whole, historic registry. We're gonna have to have an engineer say that it can't be saved.
Oh, if for bucks somebody might. Because right now I guarantee you they're asking a lot more than $1 for it. So if it's tax forfeited, at least a small dollar amount, somebody, like Maury Twin, might kick the can down the road for us or something.
I would think if
And you know, there's not gonna be any help from the city.
Moving forward.
Nobody's.
Not moving forward.
Next 2 years, it's gonna be dark,
It's gonna be what?
dark, bleak.
But I think that's an optimistic view, but
Downright ugly.
yeah, already is. I've been seeing the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been terrible since November. Well, even leading up to it. Actually, since the primaries, it's been bad.
I'm a little bit. Not in favor of that at all.
no.
I don't know if any of us are. So
There's enough other,
But we were wondering, like, how much do you save by just designating a project versus having MinDOT?
there's no politically correct term, lots
I have
around
no
town
idea what that.
that can be developed
I'll
for
bet it's a big number.
low income.
You're right, yeah. Because, you know,
Workforce
knowing
housing.
that they're, you know, they go through all the studies.
I don't think having a prime piece of land,
Oh,
a
oh,
big
okay,
chunk like that,
yeah,
is
that's
a lot.
Put 20 houses in there, they're gonna be 3 foot apart.
Yeah. It's gonna wind up just being a low income area, is what it's gonna look like.
3,400, that's
City's
A
gonna
housing project.
that are just shuffling cases.
City's gonna be the slumlord.
Yes.
plenty of open lots, like you said, even Hill, nothing's been done there yet.
Well, at the
All the
same
properties
time,
back open, there's still plenty of holes there.
yep, the HUD houses, you've seen the reports about the HUD houses properties not being maintained and so forth.
I mean, because, you know.
When Ron Moffett is mowing his neighbor's yard because it looks so bad.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, so obviously Metro Council.
I'm not gonna have a say in the decision. My decision is, we got it for sale, if they wanna buy it and do that, that's their problem. But we're not gonna give it to them.
Whatever, compared to.
And we're not gonna give them any other money.
Oh.
40 or 39.
And how many years behind are the carpentry class with houses? And to do this, just for, they get the experience of 7 Raptors, it's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And again, having a contractor, so, okay, give them the choice of remodeling a house, building a new house. What's a contractor? These old houses too, and that's where they learn.
Well, we build a lot of new houses, but every winter we would take on a major remodel. And that major remodel was more work than building new.
And that's where you have to think critically, how can I make this code compliant? It's easy when you start with blank slates.
Right.
Just direct MinDOT.
Cause you open up a wall, you find some things,
You know what,
gotta go a lot further all of a sudden.
and they'll do it.
I would never give anybody a hard bid on it,
Oh, you can't.
cause you,
You get money.
he doesn't know what's behind the
But
property,
it's not
you don't
our
know what's
race.
behind
Otherwise,
there.
we're not doing it unless you find a way to get the money.
And if he wants a hard bid, you're gonna go the extreme measure.
tell me to do whatever, that's what we're doing, you know.
We done a remodel in the kitchen.
Oh, they.
Thank you.
Now, this concept, okay, workforce housing, okay.
I see where you're going already.
Just how many individual units could that be? Townhomes, how many townhomes could you put in that structure?
But in the meantime, what are you gonna spend on the structure and make it feasible possible?
And do away with the central boiler and the central air conditioner. Each apartment have its own splitting split mini system.
Those are efficient and.
Yep, those are efficient. Now granted, you're gonna have to have something for the hallways, the general area, but any big apartment building, make that into a huge apartment building, but have it be a condo type thing where they own each individual apartment instead of a landlord for it. That way they can build equity.
But for what Myron is talking about, there are so many other properties scattered through the cities that will work.
Still change.
That's just my view. I mean, I realize you have to have some of that, but that's not right away, but I gotta.
Ready for you, our Mr. Chair?
Okay, let's get started.
All right, second.
Don't know, we'll find out.
I'm getting used to that response.
Slideshows
Okay,
back.
we'll come out of recess at this time. Turn it back to Steve, and he can tell us the new numbers.
Mr. Chairman, went back and refigured the budget and the levy. Reduced the general revenue amount by $86,000. The new levy before program aid will be $5,793,294. The non-departmental income was increased to $1,225,719. That was due to an increase in projected investment income from revenue. So with that, again, the levy before program aid, $5,793,294, minus our program aid of $577,005. The adjusted levy now is $5,216,289 for general revenue. No changes were made to road and bridge. That remains at $1,716,411. And welfare program, health and human services, $1,581,633. That was already reduced by $14,528 due to a reduction that we received information from Southwest Health and Human Services on. So that did reduce our preliminary levy. We started at the 842, we're down to 815, and now with the changes we made to the investment income, we're now at 7.06% levy increase for 2023. Recommendation of the board would be to accept resolution 5943-22, the final levy and budget resolution sheet, and also resolution 5944-22, the final levy taxes payable 2023, showing total taxable is $8,518,333.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
And second by Luke. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Levy is set.
Thank you, Steve, for all the work you've done on the budget and the department heads and all the people that are involved.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Not just me, this is just to remind the folks listening, this is a process that started in May, actually.
Yeah.
And it'll start again next May.
It's about a 7-month out of the year process to go through the budget. And the budget and the levy and many meetings and meeting with all the department heads and the commissioners as well. And very pleased to present this to the board. We work hard on this. We don't take it lightly, that we understand that every dollar that comes in, you know, other than what we get from revenue from someplace else, is taxpayer income. And it's important to know that the public pays for everything in the business that we do. Thank you.
And thank you, Steve. Okay, back to Nick.
All right, I'm here for our 2023 January through June fuel bid opening. Looks like we have 2 bids.
You have a bid sheet? I don't have any of those. Do you want to?
Oh, okay.
I'll make copies, please.
All right. Thank you. So this is the same as what we've done in the past. No changes here, so. Wait till she gets back, because I won't remember the numbers every time.
Every 6 months.
Yep.
Well, I hope we see a little reduction.
How many gallons were involved? Got that on the top of your head?
That's on that,
Any other
she
sheet?
took my copy. Yeah, I think it's 17,000 of gas and 25 of diesel, I think. I'll confirm that when she's back. We put in there that we can award gas independent from diesel, and we can award outlying shops independent from Pipestone. That's because our fuel storage is enough in Pipestone to where we can get a tanker in, so kind of eliminates the middleman hauling a lot, and that saves us some too, so that's nice.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have to give one back to Nick too.
Thanks. Oh, got lucky. So 17,000 gallons of gas, 15,000 gallons of diesel at Pipestone, and 10,000 in outlying locations. So 25,000 total of diesel, 17,000 of gas. All right, first bid is from Chandler Co-op. All right, their bid for gasoline is $2.70 per gallon, $2.70 per gallon with a 10-cent margin. That margin is if they go over, the contracted amount and have to order more. We understand that their prices will likely be changed by then, or their cost. So that's their markup that they bid then. All right, Chandler Co-op also bid diesel. For B5, they bid $3.15 per gallon at the Pipestone shop, so $3.15. For B5, for B20, they bid $3.25, so $3.25. B5 at the outlying shops, they bid $3.30. B20 at the outlying shops, they bid $3.40. The margin for the Pipestone shop is 10 cents per gallon. And the margin for the outlying shops is 25 cents per gallon. All right, next bid, BioAg Energy. Their bid. $2.909 per gallon. So $2.909 per gallon. And it, okay, looks like $0.466 per gallon for the margin for that. So 46.6 cents per gallon. They also bid the diesel they bid B5 at the Pipestone shop. They bid $3.446 per gallon, 3.446. B20, also 3.446. $3.446 per gallon for B20. B5 in the outlying shops, 3.546 per gallon, 3.546. They also bid 3.546 on B20, 3.546 on that as well. Margin at the Pipestone shop, $0.194 per gallon, 0.194. And then margin at the outlying shops, 0.294, 0.294. And that was it for bids. Let's see here. Looks to me like Chandler Co-op's low on everything. Is that how
Right.
you're seeing it too? Okay.
Yeah.
We've had both in the past. I think they're both good suppliers. I have no reason to pick anything other than the low bid, so.
Motion to accept the low bid from Chandler Co-op.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chandler Co-op.
All right, well, I think that's it for me today then, unless anybody else has questions. All right, thank you very much. We will
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
form the bidders.
Thank you, Nick.
Pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. You wanna take care of the change order right away for the HVAC?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, one of the next items you have is a change order form that came in from Johnson Controls. Request is due to existing glycol chilled fluid analysis that has failed, testing for freeze protection. That means what's in our system right now is not up to spec. And they need to get rid of that and put in approximately 550 gallons of new material. The cost is $13,694. Anything above that is needed to be $25.39 a gallon. They strongly suggest we consider that, and because of we don't want any damage to obviously the new chiller and components. This was an unforeseen issue in the current system, but beneficial for the future cooling system longevity. So I think ultimately it comes down to, I think ultimately they missed it when they bid the project, because I think they thought we had a glycol type system, which ours is really a water-based system, what we've got now. And then we put additives into it to keep it clean, keep the corrosion down and all that, but this is a whole different animal type system. It'd be basically an antifreeze based system, because we're not running hot water through it anymore and cold water. I mean, it all has to accept the heat and the cool too, so excuse me on that. So this change order would be paid out of the ARP funding that we use for the project as well, so we'll utilize that. This is the only change order we've had to date on the project. They're about 80% complete with the project now. So recommend to approve that and authorize that, Mr. Chairman.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Per diem for the flood map?
Mr. Chairman, in front of you, you have a copy of the letter that we received from FEMA. Several of the county commissioners went to that meeting. It was a very important meeting for county commissioners to be at, and I believe that should be added to a single time per diem for this meeting. According to our bylaws and rules and regulations of per diem, any meeting can be added to for a specific per diem by majority vote of the commissioners. Several, I believe 3 commissioners were at the meeting, if I remember correctly, and there could possibly be more meetings in the future. So I would probably recommend approving this per diem and then any other flood FEMA meetings in the future for per diem as well. I have a feeling we'll be meeting again in 2023.
Make that motion.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And so commissioners that attended, if you haven't already done so, to submit per diem for that meeting, please do.
In a special meeting on the 17th.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, along with that, I have in the packet, it's behind the probation stuff, put some information in there for you. I was approached, matter of fact, not just me, multiple counties in southwestern Minnesota were approached in November from a company called Nature Energy. And what they basically do is they own and operate biogas plants. Right now, they're located in Denmark and the Netherlands. They are working with the old, I can't remember, Shakers vodka plant. I think it was in Benson. Does that sound right? Anyway, there was a vodka plant where they were distilling alcohol, not ethanol, but they were making, for consumption. I believe it was called Shakers Vodka. And that has closed, and this company is taking over that plant and going to turn it into a biogas plant where they take manure primarily from cattle and turn it into biogas. I did recently find out that after the first meeting that Nature Energy has recently been bought by Shell Oil. And the whole name of the game now in that business is, I believe, carbon credits. So what they're looking at doing is building multiple gas plants throughout southwest Minnesota. Rock County's been approached. We've been approached. Many other counties, or at least 15 other counties on this conference call I had. Right now, they're just shaking the trees and see if anything will fall out of it. But the gentleman's name is, first name is Jesper. He's got a real good Netherlands brogue. It's interesting to listen to, but he's gonna be in Rock County on the 17th in the morning and requested to meet with the board on the afternoon of the 17th of January, just as an introductory meeting, to show you what they do, who they are, what it's all about. It's basically information gathering. I talked to Kyle Kerr about it. We decided that probably would be best just to have it as an open meeting, let anybody who wants to hear come and find out about it and see what they're up to instead of doing it on a committee level.
Yeah.
So I know Commissioner Johnson said he has a meeting in the morning, but I had it tentatively scheduled for 1 o'clock. I'm sure I could push that back if there's, if we needed to do that. I'm sure 2 o'clock we could do that too. I'm sure they're gonna be in the neighborhood anyway that day, so I don't think it matters to them what time it is. They have a Minneapolis office too, so it's not like they're that far away. So recommendation to the board would be, if they so chose, would be to schedule a special county board meeting on January 17th at 2 p.m. to meet with representatives of Nature Energy Biomass.
Have you reached out at all to the city to see if they would be interested in listening?
I'll invite anybody who wants to come. There's nothing to hide. I'll invite the city. Townships can come, whatever. At this time, we're gonna learn about it and see what it's all about. So it's a public meeting, so everyone's welcome to attend.
I think it'd be nice to have the city sit in as well too, and, cause there'll be questions coming up.
I will certainly send them the notice.
That'd be great.
I move that we schedule the meeting for 2 PM on January 17th.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 2 o'clock on the 17th. And here, Steve, and if we need room, we can move next door.
Yep, we'll plan to start with the commissioner's room.
Okay. Then I guess we got Myron. Mayor Coots.
Just for only a short period of time.
I just had to throw that in.
Morning, Mayor.
So does that mean that after the 31st, you'll no longer be honorable?
Yeah, that's correct. There's some people in my constituency don't think I'm honorable at the present time there. Commissioner Wildenmuth. Thank you, Commissioner Nath, for allowing me to come here this morning, fellow commissioners. If I could digress a little bit on, when you were talking about the digesting of manure and things like that. There was quite an operation that was going to be started down by Hall, Iowa, and they were taking quite a bit of manure anyway that was abandoned a number of years ago because the carbon credits were were done away with. But essentially what they were going to do at that time was to digest this, which is methane, which you burn it off, generate, and then actually, let me back up a little bit. They were going to scrub the methane and actually inject it into the natural gas pipeline at that time. To digress a little bit more on that, there was a number of years ago that there was a movement in Minnesota, and it didn't go very far because we weren't equipped for it, but just to remove the food waste out of your garbage stream. Food waste is very, it digests very well and very quickly, even more so than manure, because your concentration of BOD is much higher. So it's an interesting subject. I'm glad you're looking into it. Michelle Oil Companies probably has the money to put into it versus local investors. But having said that, that's not why I'm here today.
If you'll come back on the 17th.
Well, you probably will, yes, just to sit in. The reason why I'm here is that we've had some changes at the city government and also some changes at Minnesota West, which is really kind of jeopardizing, or not jeopardizing at this time, but could possibly jeopardize the carpentry program at Minnesota West. To give a quick explanation, we've been getting tax forfeited property, we've been rebuilding these homes, which has been a very, very successful project. It's been recognized all across the state. We've given presentations in Nebraska, Iowa, various parts of Minnesota. I've been at a couple statewide meetings where impromptu presentations have been given. So it's a very successful program, and the feedback I get is it needs, every community should have it, because we're all sitting in the same boat as the time that we were settled in the 1870s. The big building boom was in the early 1900s, and consequently there was no building codes at that time and what have you, plus these houses are really getting old. Did a lot of work. So we really want to keep that carpentry program around. However, from an academic standpoint, the way it was explained to me was that to teach carpentry, and I'm going to use the explanation of setting rafters. So you would have a class on setting rafters, and then you go out and set rafters. And having said that, what the technical college is telling us on a Pipestone EDA is that system works out better for new construction than it does on the rebuilding construction we have been doing. And I could see that also with their plumbing program. They can also teach laying it in and then putting your foundation down and what have you. So what the Minnesota West is proposing to the Pipestone EDA is that we would still have the rebuild program, but they would take approximately, they're estimating about 4 months to build a new house. And how that would work is that they would put the foundation, we're talking about 900 square foot house, slab on grade, get it down into hopefully get it down into the cost range where people that are working, that don't qualify for any government programs will be able to buy it. And by doing that, we would, or they would, well, actually, a combination of the EDA and Minnesota West would actually pour all the foundations in the spring, so that when they convened in the fall for class, then they would have that building to work on. And then also along with that is that they would also still be in the rebuild program. So you take like 622 over here on Highway 30 that we're rebuilding this year. That's a fairly major project. It's going extremely well. They're anticipating having that completed in May because we have a high number of students, both high school and technical college students on that project. Interestingly enough, Commissioner Roskamp, is that there's actually one high school student from Edgerton that's coming over and participating in that program that I know of for sure. So it really touches the entire county. Where I was going with that is if they had a large project like that, they would probably do that over a 2-year period of time. So the carpentry student coming in would have a new construction background, would also get a real good taste of remodeling or rebuilding. And so then that student coming out of that program would be fairly well-rounded to either go to work for someone or eventually start their own construction firm, however they want to proceed in life. And so with that, it comes to the proof of the whole pudding is going to have available lots to build new homes. One of the things this year, we're scrambling around and we're condemning a building and we're going to need to tear that down, plus incorporate it with another lot that's going to be donated to the EDA so that we will have a building site. We don't have any really, without getting into a high cost situation, a lot of lots within the city limits that would lend itself to build that the city owns. Then you have to keep in mind too that the technical college, and because it's a state program, cannot build for a profit company. And so it has to be a nonprofit of some sort, like an EDA. And so this shoe fits very well with our community. So the reason why I'm here, and I'll just be real brazen about it, is I would like to see the county commissioners and the Pipestone EDA kind of do a joint project. And quite frankly, I'm looking at the south half of the old Central School property. That would allow a numbers of units that could be built there over a course of years. That one, it would ensure that the carpentry program stays in Pipestone, because if we miss 1 year of not having a buildable lot, that program will go away because there's all kinds of communities that want that program. Two, we have an extreme housing shortage in southwest Minnesota. In fact, all over the place in Minnesota. Plus, we have very low unemployment rate, in the 1 percentile. I think it's 1.8. I think it is Pipestone County. It's very low. And so, if you watch social media and other things, the realtors, there's always people looking for housing. The beauty, if the county commissioners would consider doing a joint project like this, is that we could then put plans in place and start working with our major employers so that their key people would have an opportunity to get into one of these units. And that'll do a couple things. One is obviously going to generate real estate tax. It's going to get stabilized community pride. Plus stabilize employment for the major employers in town. And so I'll kind of open it up for questions at this point. That's kind of a quick overview.
Anybody have any questions?
Just curious, do you know approximately what would a home of that size cost?
We're thinking, we see there would be no labor in it, so in that time frame would be less than 200,000. which if you get the people employed, like an example at JBS or some of the other employees at Pipestone helping farmers, they would have to definitely be able to move into something like that. And I think too, Commissioner Johnson, that we probably will see some movement from an existing older home. It would probably upgrade into something like that. And it could be a real possibility, since these are not going to be very large homes. You might see some more moderate income senior citizens moving into that and moving out of their current houses, which will generate other opportunities.
So what you're saying is that obviously for this program to continue to flourish, it needs both a combination of rehabilitation of homes and new construction both, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
How does this differ from when Minnesota West had their carpentry program on their own and they would go out and build project homes throughout the years?
The biggest difference on this one is, thank you for that question, Commissioner Wildemuth, is that when years ago, the state actually had a program where they would buy up the property, to buy the lot, they would finance the whole thing. The difference between this program and that program is that the Pipestone EDA is bankrolling the whole program. And to be quite frank about it, there's not much desire on the Minnesota West or Minisku, the entire Minnesota system, of getting back into buying up property and building a spec home. The second big major difference is that those homes that they were building were really aimed at the upper income level. They really weren't workforce housing. And there's nothing wrong with that program, because you learned a lot, because they had a 2-year program. They had finished carpentry right along with roughing carpentry. And it served a very useful purpose. When we start looking at where we're at today and our market differences, is that we really need workforce housing. And a program such as this would still allow a relatively modest home with a 2-car garage to be built, and would allow the carpentry program to teach rough carpentry or framing, as well as finish in a relatively short period of time.
Throughout the years, and again, you mentioned how we've already have partnered with the EDA and the carpentry program with our tax forfeited properties, making those available for the programs. That's been the remodel programs. Are there any other lots out there that might lend itself towards new construction versus remodel that are spread out throughout the community instead of just in one location?
The short answer is no. There may be, there's some lots that what we call a non-conforming lot, so your width is like 35 foot or 45 foot. To really make that to a conforming lot, we need to acquire the adjoining property, whatever that's going to cost, plus tear down that house or structure, whatever is on it, which will add another $10,000, $12,000 to the project. And real quick, like you will end up with more in that lot than would be to buy an existing lot off of like Southwest Acres that the EDA owns. However, to do Southwest Acres, depending on where you're building, the homeowners in that part of the Southwest Acres have covenants where you have to have multiple roof lines, you have to have a 3-car garage, you gotta have a minimum of 1,700 square feet, and all of a sudden you're looking at a $500,000-$600,000 home very quickly. Okay, we do own other property to the west of that, behind Colburn's, but as soon as you move into that area, now we need to put in street, curb, gutter, sewer, water, everything else, so your lot costs will be in that $50,000 range, and which will, just things like that will take the workforce housing person right out of the market very quickly.
Another area that we've seen some success in over the last 15, 20 years has been the Habitat for Humanities projects. Somewhat similar. They've had some of those non-conforming lots that they've been able to buy adjacent lots to. I can think of three off the top of my head that have been very successful in having new structures put up for Habitat for Humanity. So I can understand how that had worked, and hopefully that same philosophy can morph into this as well too.
I agree, Commissioner Wildermuth, that would be a phenomenal thing. In fact, the Southeast Technical in Sioux Falls is partnered with Habitat for Humanity. And so what they do, because that's a nonprofit again, what their carpentry program will do is build as much as possible within an academic year on that particular home. If they don't complete it, then Habitat comes in and completes it. But then Habitat sells that and gets a profit off of that also. So, believe me, I can assure you, Commissioner Wildermuth, that over the last 6 years, the city administration and myself and the building inspector have analyzed most every lot that has any space at all in this community to see if we can build on it. In fact, we've bent over backwards for a couple local contractors, which one has never fulfilled his obligations to abandon alleyway right-of-ways and what have you, so that would be a buildable lot. And I can assure you, I like what you're saying is filling in the spaces, but there isn't that much space to fill in.
Have you had discussions then with the Development Corporation now that they have a couple of large pieces of property that they own? You mentioned some on the outskirts. How about now that they've got the old Hill School property? Or are you concerned again about covenants on those, restricting the type?
Well, I'm not so concerned about covenants. The bottom line on workforce housing is one, anytime you build housing, it's a high risk. And I know Commissioner Matthew attempted this in the past, and so have I. In that it's a high risk. If you look at workforce housing, it's relatively small. Your margins are very, very narrow. And, so there's quite a bit of risk to it, especially if you don't sell it within a short period of time. If you look at the contractors that we have in the area, they're well employed by, one, more expensive homes, which their margins are higher on. They're assured that they're getting bought out at the end, or they're into agricultural buildings, which is a high demand area right now. And so when you look at availability of contractors for doing something like that, in that area, it's more profitable for them to be doing it in those PDC-owned properties. And also, back to what I was saying earlier, is that, one, Minnesota West cannot build for a profit corporation. Okay. Pipestone Development Corporation is a for-profit development corporation. So it has to be somebody like with the EDA, the city, county, what have you, and that's why, very selfishly, I'm looking at the south half of the old Central School property, because it's got streets, it's got water, it's got sewer, it's got everything that would enable a workforce individual to move into that house at the lowest cost possible.
What is the EDA prepared to offer for the property?
Well, that's going to be got the $64 question, Commissioner Johnson. I would say at this point is to really consider. Obviously, the EDA is looking at how do we obtain it as low cost as possible, and because that's going to enable the program to go forward. In fact, if the county would like to participate in that process, we're going to have, right now, we have about $150,000 in EDA to do a rebuild project. We're going to have a fundraiser or borrow the money to do new projects. So if the county would like to look at taking $200,000-300,000 out of the cash reserve and loan it to the Pipestone EDA at 0% interest, we would be interested.
Any other questions for Myron?
Thank you very much. I would really appreciate you considering this, and obviously I'm not looking for an answer today, because this is something you have to discuss, because you're managing that property, and you need to do it for the best ends of the taxpayers. You know, on the flip side of it is, there's an interesting phenomena with our property tax. And if you really study it, if you go to, especially right now, Nobles County and Murray County, and look at it very closely, their levy increase has actually been more than what yours has been, or mine in the city has been. The interesting phenomena with that is that their tax obligation per piece of property has actually gone down. And the reason for that is that those counties are adding enough values in building and other structures in the county that it offsets the mill levy increase. And so, you know, very briefly, I can say if you need to raise $200, if you got 50 people raising that $200, you got, you know, somebody paying $40 a piece. Okay, if you got 200 people raising $200, you have $1 a piece. And that's an oversimplified explanation of that phenomena. So as we, as people that are overlooking the best possible scenario on taxes, we're really, you know, to keep taxes low as possible, as crazy as it may sound, we need to continue adding value to our communities and to our area. Once we stop, that's when the individual tax burden goes up on individuals. As long as we continue on, that stabilizes it, or if we get enough added value, it actually decrease the financial obligation per individual taxpayer. So with that,
I think Luke had
One more question.
Sure.
How soon does Midwest need to know that they would have property available for new housing to keep this program going?
Good question. We think we have one lot that we're doing a tear down, a condemnation with it. I get a little nervous about that, Commissioner Johnson, because we got an all new administration at the city, and how quickly they can get themselves up to speed to make that happen. Hopefully they will. After that one lot, basically it'll be the spring of 2024.
Okay.
Let's see, they have 23, yeah. Spring of 24.
So you think they'll be good through this coming year anyway?
For the coming year, I think they will be. I think we can kind of limp along. The issue that, or at least a potential issue that I see, as long as we keep pushing that commitment date back to availability, the more that puts that program into jeopardy. Because when the instructors and the technical colleges out recruiting students, it's very difficult to say, well, maybe we'll be in, you know, have a program, maybe we
Right.
will not. You know.
Right. And do they have pretty good turnout now as far as
Yes.
participation?
Yes, we do. We have very good participation both on, I think we either have, we're at a point, or they are at a point where they almost need to add another instructor. The issue you get into within their financial obligation or financial reimbursement is that they need a minimum of 13 students per instructor. So we're well past the 13 students, but we're not up to 26 students. And that's the key. It's a numbers game. You know, so will that ever happen? Maybe, maybe not.
Any other questions for Myron? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Commissioner
you
Knapp.
for
Yes,
coming. And thank you for your service to the city all those years.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I miss it. I'm going to miss it. I really sincerely am. It's a job that I really liked, and it was always challenges. A lot of challenges, and I guess that's one of the things that it kind of keeps me going is a challenge. In fact, I've told my wife that if you ever come down to having to say, giving out my death notice, I've told her, instructed her to say, well, he woke up this morning with nothing to do. So, thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else come before this? Okay,
Chairman, along with what Myron was talking about, I'd like to get in contact with County Attorney Sandy and see what our options are regarding the sale of the property. I think that's where we need to start, see what we can do with it.
Thank you.
Because right now it is listed for sale.
It is.
Don't believe it. Amanda wasn't able to get down here because she was busy with the driver's license, so she wanted to come down for the discussion as well, but I'll get in touch with her too, so.
Very
see where
good.
we're at.
Refresh my memory, what was the minimum sale price we set up?
It's 72.
72.
9 cents a square foot. It's, it's commonly said north half, south half, but it's actually basically
Third and
south 2/3, north 1/3 is really how it actually
figure it on
almost
square
plays
footage.
out closer to that than a half and a half.
And if I'm not mistaken, then because there were no bids on that at the public auction that we had,
It's for sale right
it's
now.
for sale. Anybody walk in now with a check for $72,000
buy
is
it.
theirs.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll do some investigation on that and come back.
It's something for the new board to discuss.
Buck, here you go, pass it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I do have one more item on the agenda, Resolution 5924-22. This is an AMC requested resolution for the Community Supervision Work Group. They sent the information out. It's all in regards to there are multiple ways that probation is being provided in the state of Minnesota. Some are county-based, we're state-based here in the county, others have community probation, so there's multiple ways it's being done. I think they're finally trying to get together and try to come up with some sort of a funding formula that's equitable for all the different methods of community probation. And the first thing they wanted all the counties to do was adopt the Community Supervision Work Group resolution, which you have in front of you here, and you have some information on it as well. So remember, we're state is where we are here. We pay for our clerical staff, and then state basically pays for Jeff. So this is the way we've got here, and remember her name. The other probation officer. I'm sorry for the those listening.
Kim? No.
No, she's secretary.
No.
Jeff and
Morgan.
that's one of those, yeah.
Morgan, forgive me. So, anyway, I would recommend that the board adopt Resolution 594222, and we'll send that off to AMC.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to make that a last motion?
Well, sure, I'll make that motion.
I will support it then.
And what specifically does that resolution state?
Okay, what there
That's whereas.
is where, there's a lot of whereases.
Lot of
here. I'm
whereases.
gonna start right where it really gets in. Whereas the legislature's failure to adequately fund community supervision has increased local property taxes on residents and businesses. A revised community supervision funding formula is necessary to ensure that all communities in Minnesota have enough state funding to provide a consistent standard for effective evidence-based community supervision services regardless of local capacity to pay. AMC assembled a community supervision work group including county leaders, experts in community supervision from all three supervision delivery systems to study the needs of community supervision departments statewide and develop a single funding formula that is transparent, needs-based, and equitable among county and state supervision providers. So what they're doing is looking for all 87 counties to take up this so that they can get their work group going together and hopefully get adequate funding from the legislature, which has apparently not had adequate funding for decades.
But they're not proposing at this point a specific verbiage on the funding formula. This is to put a work group together to put
Correct.
together funding. Because my concern would be, as we've seen in the past with the state, with cost shifts. I just hope that they don't try to shift this down to our local tax levy to support this.
Right. And basically, it comes down to be it resolved, the County Board of Commissioners endorses the efforts of the Community Supervision Work Group and urges the legislature to pass a new funding formula and significant appropriation during the 2023 legislative session. That's what they're looking to do. And there are counties that are paying many more thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars than we can ever envision, and getting very little money back from the state, where we're on state and we're doing quite well here.
Right.
So it's not equitable across the realm. That's the issue. So again, this is a work group looking for funding. They asked for this last year too, and of course the legislature adjourned. So
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Who was the second on that, please?
Me.
Thank you, Dallas.
Me. Pick me.
He's the one that forced me.
Okay.
We'll just wait on this till next time.
Yeah, well, let's just do it on the third or the
Okay.
17th, that's fine. Or the 10th, third or the 10th, that's fine, it's not gonna hurt anything.
Well, at your next meeting, when you do reports, Doug can give the report, cause he rode with me the month of December. We had a fun ride coming home last Wednesday. First 20 miles anyhow.
It still is. I was there yesterday, or up that direction yesterday. It's still bad through that same stretch.
Oh, Russell?
Yeah, in that area. Yeah. From Lynn down to almost to 14.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else to come before this board today?
Mr. Chairman, would you
No.
like to make the motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'm just gonna say we're adjourned.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Les.
Good thing the year's over. My pen ran out of ink.
We do have pictures eventually coming, but the company that Kathy used in the past, unfortunately, over in Flanders shut down, so.
Big Pro? Or-
Yeah, I think it was Pick Pro, yeah.